Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Moonbound Silence. Episode 5. Chapter 21-25. Jasper's POV. I was pleasantly surprised when Kendrick announced at breakfast that he and Melody are mates and that they've accepted each other as such. I was even more surprised that they hadn't mated or marked each other. After their announcement, they left the dining room because they had already eaten breakfast in bed. "Ah, I'm so happy for them," Sarin said. "Yeah, good for them, it's time they both found their mates, and it's crazy that it's to each other," Jason replied. "Milan, you're awfully quiet," I say to her. "She's just pissy because she lost the bet and now has to my laundry for a week," Sarin answered. "What bet?" Jason and I asked at the same time. "We made a bet on who Melody's mate would be. Milan thought it would be Angelo, and I said it would be Kendrick," Sarin replied. "You two bet on my sister's love life?" I asked them and they both nodded. I pinched the bridge of my nose and shook my head. "Milan, I know for a fact that this was your idea." "Why do you assume it was my idea?" she defended. "Because I've known you since we were in middle school, and you always bet on everything." "Ugh, fine," she scoffed. I looked at Sarin, who just pressed her L.P.S. together and looked down. I took her hand in mine and kissed her knuckles. "Dearest, I know for a fact that the laundry thing was your idea," I said to Sarin. "Contrary to what you know about me, Jasper, the laundry was Milan's idea too. I don't have money to bet with like everyone else does, so laundry was the only option," she said defensively and stuck her tongue out. I smiled and rolled my eyes at her. After breakfast, Sarin and I went up to my office to deal with pack-related business. Now that Sarin is officially the Luna, it was time I got her educated on other wolf laws and inner pack laws that everyone must abide by. Sarin was not happy when I sent her back to her office with stacks of files and paperwork for her to go over. She was even less pleased when I told her that I would be quizzing her on everything. Melody's POV. "Kendrick, where are we going?" I asked him as we walked hand in hand through the mountains. "You'll see when we get there," he said. I rolled my eyes and kept following him. After what felt like an eternity of walking through trees and brush, Kendrick came to a stop. "Okay, I need you to close your eyes," he tells me. I give him a confused look and lift a brow at him. "Trust me," I glared at him for a second before closing my eyes. I felt him take both of my hands as he led me to where it was we were going. "Don't make me fall," I warn him. "I'm not, the path is completely clear, just let me guide you, Angel," he replied. After about a minute or two of walking, Kendrick came to a stop again. I heard his feet rustling, and then I felt him come up behind me. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. "Okay, open your eyes." I opened my eyes and gasped. Before me was a Ginnermouse waterfall that was coming from on top of the mountain we were standing by. I had lived here my entire life and I never knew that his waterfall even existed. I covered my mouth with my hands in complete awe of the scenery. The waterfall actually created a small pool at the bottom, and to my surprise, the water was quite clean. "Oh my God, Ken, this is beautiful. I didn't even know this place existed." "Yeah, I came upon it during a run in wolf form, and ever since I discovered it, I told myself that I would bring my mate here for our first date," he said and kissed my cheek. I turned around and put my arms around his neck. "I didn't realize this was supposed to be a date. Everything we do from here on out is going to be a date, gorgeous." "Seriously, who are you?" I asked with a smart tone. What happened to you all of a sudden? You're not the Kendrick I remember. That was the player Kendrick, he said, replied, and pulled me closer to him. The Kendrick before you is the real Kendrick. The one who has always wanted a mate. Who promised himself, and his future mate, whoever she turned out to be, would only know me as the loyal, loving, and compassionate Kendrick. I just shook my head and ssed him. Goddess, this man won my heart in less than 24 hours. This is amazing, thank you for bringing me here, baby. I think we should go for a swim, don't you? He said to me. Ken, it's almost winter, the water is going to be freezing, I reply. He just smirked. Feel the water, I just looked at him like he was crazy. Go on, feel it, I stepped away and crouched down, and put my hand in the water. What? It's warm, I stood up straight and looked at back him. How is the water warm? I have no idea, but it is, he replied, and took off his shirt. Ken, I don't have a bathing suit. Who said anything about bathing suits? He replied. I just stood there blinking really fast. The heavens spared no details when it came to creating this man. He was blessed, absolutely blessed. See anything you like? I just nodded and audibly gulped. Wow, was all I could say. He chuckled and walked past me, getting into the water. You coming in? I let out a deep breath. I hadn't realized I walked into the water, and the warmth from it was astounding. I was even more surprised to see that it was quite deep. I realized that if I wanted to be by Kendrick, I would have to actually swim to him. Babe, I can't go that far, I'll drown. Come here, I'll hold you. He came back over and picked me up by the back of my GHS. When we got into deeper water, I just hugged Kendrick, and buried my face into his neck, inhaling his amazing fruity scent, and started to giggle. What's so funny? Your scent, I replied, and giggled again. What about it? You smell fruity. Almost like Skittles. I do. To me yet. I'm not sure what you smell like to other girls. I've always been told I smell earthy by other girls. Well, you probably smell sweet and fruity to me because I'm your mate. You know as well as I do that our scent differ from wolf to wolf. You will always smell sweet to your mate. Maybe that's why you smell like hot chocolate to me, he replied, and ssed my neck. Taste like it too, he continued, and then ssed me again, gently nibbling on my flesh. Ah, Kendrick, I am 0ANED. He pulled back from me, and gently cupped my wrist while sing my L.P.S. I had no problem with his hands being on me. He L'd my L.P.S., asking for entrance, but I denied. He did once more, but again, I denied him, smiling against our SS. Without saying a word, Kendrick firmly squeezed the wrist he was cupping, which made me gasp. He took the opportunity to shove his tongue in my mouth, which made me M0AN immediately. Our tongues wrestled for dominance while he started to rub his hardened CK against my folds. The friction between our bodies was driving me crazy, and I wanted him so badly. Kendrick, please, give it to me. No. Please. Not here, this isn't the time, he said softly, and started to su.ck on my wrist while still rubbing against me. He kept rubbing harder and harder until the friction was too much. Ah! Kendrick! I shouted at the top of lungs and dug my nails into his shoulders. Kendrick grunted a few times, and then his body relaxes beneath my touch. I could tell by his heavy breathing that he came to. FK, he said breathlessly. I didn't expect that, but hearing you scream my name like that was hypnotic and my body just let go. Kendrick, why won't you just make love to me, I whined. Even though what we just did was amazing, I want him so badly. I told you, Angel, I'm not going to take advantage of you. I want it to be perfect, and as much as I would love to have you while we are in nature, it's not the right time. I feel like you're just avoiding it, I frowned. I'm not avoiding it, baby. I want you so badly, and so does Ajax, but even he's telling me that we need to wait. He knows something, but he won't tell me, he replied while brushing my hair out of my face. Melody. Yet. Is it too soon to tell you that I love you? I shook my head. No, he smiled. Is it too soon for me to say it back? He shook his head. I love you too. We shared an intimate kiss and spent the next few hours at the waterfall. As much as I really wanted Kendrick, even Tundra was telling me to hold off on mating. Our wolves knew something, but they weren't telling us. Sarin's POV. Jasper. My head hurts. I whine. He has had me reading documents upon documents for the last several hours to learn policies, procedures, and laws of our kind. Being Lunasa.ck's. Sarin, you need to know all of this if you are going to be an effective Luna. I know it's a lot, baby, but you can do it, I just pouted and scowled at him. You said you would wait until I was ready. Sarin, we've fully mated and marked each other, there is no more waiting, unfortunately. I'm sorry, dearest, but you need to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. Ugh, I hate this. I missed out on my entire childhood, and now I'm not going to be able to enjoy adulthood. Sarin, quit whining, and let's get back to the quiz, I grunted and crossed my arms. He smirked and shook his head. Next question, give 2 examples of crimes that can get a ranked pack member banished. Killing an internal or external pack member without legal cause and interfering with a Class A pack investigation. And 2 examples of Class A investigations. Lying about the paternity of a pup and using dark magic for personal gain. Good. Whew, I responded and slouched into the chair. This is the last one. Ugh. What are the duties of the Luna, Beta, and Gamma females? The Luna's duties are to assist the Alpha with pack-related businesses such as welcoming guests, organizing events, providing order amongst pack members, and ensuring that the Beta and Gamma females are up to par with their duties. The Beta's duties are to assist with ensuring internal pack laws are followed and to assist the Beta with training pack members, and ensuring the safety of the young and the elderly if we ever go to war, and the Gamma's duties are to provide jobs to pack members who want to work in the pack house or within the territory, and both Beta and Gamma females assist the Luna with special event coordination. Perfect, he gave me a smile. See, I told you that you can do it. Please tell me we're done for today, I pleaded. We're done for today. Thank the moon goddess. I shouted and jumped out of the chair. I was about to run out of Jasper's office when he called out to me. Where do you think you're going? Anywhere but here, I replied without any regrets. Sarin, close the door and lock it, my mouth dropped. So much for being done for the day. I closed the door and locked it. Before I could turn around, Jasper had used his wolf speed to come up behind me and pushed me against the door. Jasper, what are you? Jasper's hands were groping my wrists while he used his body to keep mine pressed up against the door. Do you know how hard it is to concentrate and be serious when you're right in front of me? But I didn't. One of his hands was between my legs and he was rubbing my private area. Sarin, half the time you were in here, you were thinking about X, and do not even try to deny it, because I would smell your sweet ar0 The hand that was rubbing me grabbed my chin and turned my head to face him as he attacked my L.P.S. with an aggressive K.S.S. I keep forgetting that he can sense when I'm AR0USED. Wolf sense of smell. He broke our K.S.S. and turned me around to face him, only to pull me into another K.S.S. While K.S.ing me, I could hear Jasper unbuckling his pants, and then dropping them to the floor. He grabbed my hand and made me touch him. He was hard as a rock. I started to rub him up and down, while he grabbed my face and deepened our K.S.S. He then reached down and pulled down my leggings and my underwear, while I pulled down his boxers. He lifted me up my legs and pinned my back against the door again. I could feel his DCK poking me where it goes in. "Do you want it?" he asked me with a husky voice. "Yes, I want it." "Are you sure?" he said while using his DCK to rub against me. It was so wet down there, and him doing that was just making it wetter. "Yes, please, baby, I want to have X." Without another word, Jasper put it in, and it felt as if I was being torn apart. I yelped at the sudden invasion, but the slight second of pain was immediately replaced with pleasure. He hit some part of my inside that just made my eyes roll to the back of me head and made me make sounds that I didn't know were possible. "Jasper," I felt warm. "Ah, oh my God, Jasper K.S.S.E.D. me hard." He released everything he could. After what felt like a lifetime of pleasure, I could finally breathe again, and my eyesight returned to normal. Jasper's legs appeared to have given out as he slid us down to the floor of his office and pulled out. I watched as he laid on his back huffing and puffing. Was all I heard him say. "Jasper, we need to do that again," I tell him. "We're most certainly going to do it again, give me 5 minutes to catch my breath." Not even 5 minutes later, Jasper was on top of me, and doing what he did against the door, only this time, we're on the floor. After we did it on the floor, Jasper had me bend over on top of his desk, which was a whole different and yet magical experience. After doing it on his desk, Jasper took us back to our bedroom where we did it on the bed, on the couch, and then in the shower. I was sore all over, but I loved it. Learning about X was definitely more fun than learning about wolf laws. I felt bad though, realizing that Jasper did all of the work. I knew that women had a role when it came to X, but I was still so new to this that I didn't want to make a fool of myself. So, I made a mental note to ask Milan and Melody if they would teach me how to pleasure Jasper in return. Chapter 22. Jasper's POV. After thoroughly Sarin to the point where she passed out, I figured I would head up to the archives in the library to do more research on her being a primordial. Something about the last few rounds of X made me think she could project images onto other people. I never had an issue with giving a woman what she wanted when it came to X, but while giving her everything I could have sworn I saw myself putting her in positions I never thought she wanted, and then when I did them, she just responded to me in the most amazing way. When I got to the library, I went up to the west corner on the 5th floor where I knew the archives were. I pulled every book and scroll there was that mentioned anything about powerful wolves, rare wolves, and wolves with abilities. I was surprised to see that were many different kinds of blessed wolves in the world. But yet somehow, all of them seemed to have some kind of weakness or were still vulnerable to silver and wolfbane. The only wolf in the world that I found to have no weaknesses were those coming from the first werewolf and his bloodline of royal purebloods. I went through book after book, scroll after scroll, and couldn't find anything that talked about primordial werewolves other than that one section the elders showed my father. There had to be more about Sarin and her pedigree somewhere. After hours of reading and researching, I was about to give up when something caught my eye. A little black book that peeked from behind the other books. It was thin, and older looking than the others. I picked up and opened the cover, and the first 2 words that I saw was the primordial. I grunted in frustration because I had been reading for hours when the answer was in this tiny black book. I started to read through it, my mind was blown away at the amount of information this tiny book had. All it talked about was the primordial and how rare and coveted they were. First coming into existence in 5000 BC. They are the most feared and also the most powerful. The powers that one can possess are telepathy, premonition, mind control, image projection, ability to heal others, capable of light magic, immune to dark magic, heightened strength, speed, senses, regeneration and agility, control over Earth's elements, lie detection, the power to resurrect, and in rare cases immortality. It went on to say that over the last several millennia, only male primordials have been recorded to have been born, and they only possessed 1 or 2 of many powers one could possess. However, most were killed for their blood by witches, warlocks, and vampires, or even by their own packs because of fear or jealousy. Some were even killed before they became of age to prevent them from gaining their abilities. I shook my head when I read that part. The fact that a pack would turn on its own alpha or future alpha out of fear and jealousy was absurd, but yet, understanding. I kept reading and found a section that spoke of the rare female primordial. It repeated what the ancient text my father showed me said, but it also talked about the fact that there have only been 2 recorded female primordials, both of whom were kidnapped by a vampire by the name of Alessandro. He was rumored to have served as Dracula's general, and has been around just as long. Legends say that Alessandro kidnapped both female primordials, forcing them into marriage, so they could create a hybrid of werewolf and vampire with unlimited powers. However, none of their offspring ever survived. After multiple attempts of failed pregnancies, Alessandro killed the primordial females. Because of his terror, the higher powers and the moon goddess agreed that the next female born will be blessed with more power than any female before her. I lifted my head from the book and blinked several times and thought about everything. Sarin had to be it, the most powerful female primordial. This was a lot of information, but I needed to read to the end. I needed to get a better understanding of just who my love was. The final page of the book is what really caught my attention. This female will be blessed with enough power to destroy Alessandro and all vampires tied to his bloodline. However, if she is captured by Alessandro before she has harnessed her full powers, it is said she will successfully be able to give him an heir. An heir that is far more powerful than any wolf or vampire to ever exist. Her powers will only be fully magnified once she and her mate truly become one. As long she and her mate are of one mind, body, and soul, her existence shall be hidden. However, if their bond is ever weakened or broken, then her existence will be fully known, and Alessandro will stop at nothing to find her. I slammed the book shut, and immediately ran out down the stairs, and out of the library, leaving a mess behind. That was not important to me, I need to let my parents know right away. I mind-linked my father. Dad, where are you? Asleep. What do you mean asleep? Jasper, it's 3 in the morning. T, is it really? Jasper, you missed dinner, and no one could reach you. Where have you been? Library doing research. I had no idea that time had gone by like. Sarin. She's fine, son, she ate and went to bed without a fuss. She figured you were busy catching up with pack duties. Now, care to tell me what has you all riled up? Meet me in my office, Dad, I found something big you need to know about. I cut off the mind link and met him in my office. I showed him the book that I read, and he skimmed through most of the pages. When he got to the last page, his eyes widened, and he looks at me with concern and shock. When he finished reading, he gently put the book down and rubbed his temples. Dad! Give me a minute, son, I need to process what I just read. I sat back and just waited. At one point he looked as if he was going to say something and then didn't. He rubbed his chin and I could see him thinking. Dad! Son, do you realize that this is more serious than we thought? Yeah, that's why I'm coming to you. Jasper, if Sarin is the primordial the book is referring to, then we have to make sure she harnesses her powers, and all of them, and also make sure then the bond between the two of you stays strong. Which is why I want to pet Shin to get rid of Layla. Jasper. Dad. She's the only real threat that could come between Sarin and me. She almost did already, and what's not to say that one misunderstanding may have already created some kind of homing beacon for this to find her. Layla has not broken any laws, and we have nothing to justify banishing her. She's harassed Sarin once already, but Sarin and Michelle won't tell me what it is. Unless they come clean about it, there is nothing we can do. The elders will not allow you to banish a pack member without a justifiable cause, and you know this. T. Son, you need to talk to Sarin about this first thing in the morning. She was already pissed as it was when I first told her what she is, and now this? Dad, this is even bigger. How am I supposed to tell her that some blood vampire is after her? By telling her that some blood vampire is after her, I just gave him a look that said what? Son, you have been alpha for over 8 years, why are you coming to me for help? Dad, being alpha is one thing, but being a mate is another. Let alone being the mate to most power female wolf in all of existence. Jasper, I can't even imagine the stress you are under, but imagine the stress that Sarin is going to be under, especially at her age. She needs you to be supportive and loving. If you panic, then so will she, and we don't need that. You are her mate, her love, and her foundation. She needs you to be in control because if she loses hers, then it will be devastating for everyone. I let out a sigh at his words. You're right, Dad, this is just a lot to comprehend. I mean, we've officially only been together for just over 2 weeks, and she just became Luna last night. It is a lot, but we are all here to help you and her deal with it. As long as you remain honest with her, support her, love her, and nurture her, I'm sure she will be able to handle the immense amount of powers she will soon be blessed with. Other than mind reading, I'm honestly curious to see what else she can do. Well, I think she gained another without knowing it, I tell him. Really? How can you be so sure? Well, before I buried my entire day and night into reading in the archives, Sarin and I were, you know, I looked him trying not to have to say the word, anyway, I think she projected images into my mind. What kind of images? That's not important, I tell him and he just smirks. Point being is that Sarin already has 2 powers, and we just completed the mating process a week ago. We will need to keep an eye on her to see what else she will be capable of, but first, you need to tell her about the vampire. I nodded. Good, now go change for training. What? Jasper, it's 4:30 a.m. With those words, I realized that it was Monday morning, and there was pack training in 30 minutes, and I hadn't slept at all. I hung my head. Angelo is going to kick me. Sarin's POV. I woke up when I heard the door to the room open. I looked at the bedroom clock and saw it was just going on past 4:30 in the morning. Jasper. Hey, I'm sorry dearest, I didn't mean to wake you. Wah, are you now just coming in? Yeah, I'm sorry. I was up in the archives in the library all night and I didn't realize how much time had passed. What were you doing in the archives? Researching about you. Me? I said and turned on the lamp. What about me? Baby, I will tell you everything, but right now I need to get to training before Angelo makes me run 20 miles, I nodded, and Jasper leaned into K.S.S. me, and I quickly turned my face. He gave a look of shock and hurt. I have morning breath, I tell him. He grabs my face and sees me anyway. I don't care, he replied and then went into the closet to change. When he came back out, he was in a hoodie and sweats. Go back to sleep dearest. I'm already awake now, I think I will go down and help Mr. and Mrs. Williams make breakfast. Are you sure? Positive, now that I'm Luna, I should take on some responsibilities, I smile. He grabbed my face and SSCD me again. Jasper. I love you, he says and gives me one more before running out the door. I love you too, I say to the door. I get out of bed and head into the shower to get ready for the day. Once was I clean, I got dressed, put my hair up in a ponytail, and went down to the kitchen to help get breakfast ready. When I got down to the kitchen, I looked through the pantries and found a sack of potatoes, onions, and garlic. I pulled everything I found and put them on the counter. I then dug through the freezer and found packs of breakfast sausages and frozen fruits. Then I moved on to the fridge and found cartons of eggs and biscuits. I pulled everything I found. Oh, Luna, good morning. I turn around and saw Mr. and Mrs. Williams come into the kitchen. Good morning, I say back and smile. And I believe I asked you two to call me Sarin, I give them a side look with another smile. Ah yes, our apologies, Mrs. Williams said. Sarin, what are we making this morning? Mr. Williams asked. I figured we could do a traditional breakfast with biscuits, sausage, hash browns, scrambled eggs, and fruit smoothies. Sarin, that sounds like a wonderful idea, Mrs. Williams said. Just as she said that the kitchen omegas came in, said their morning greetings, and we all got to work. 2 hours later, we had pans full of hash browns, eggs, sausages, and biscuits, and glasses filled with smoothies. While everyone was putting out plates and utensils, I turned to put napkins onto the island when Jasper and the others started to pile into the dining room. Hey baby, Jasper said and gave me a sweaty h.ug. You. Jasper. You're all sweaty and gross. You didn't have a problem with my sweat when I had you against the door yesterday, I gasped so loud when he said that in front of a dozen pack members. My face never felt so red and I had never been so embarrassed. Jasper Valencia! I screamed and smacked him in the arm. I covered my face with my hands while I heard the kitchen staff and other warriors giggling and snickering. Jasper, why must you embarrass the poor thing? Grace said coming into the dining room. She's my Luna, it's my job, he replied. I smacked him again and scowled. All he did was smile and h.ug me again. You stink, I tell him and push him off. He frowns at me. Jasper, go upstairs and shower, Grace says. He just smirks, sees my cheek, leaves to go shower. Sarin, honey, you will get used to it, she says turning to me when Jasper is out of view. Ronan did it to me too. I can't believe him, I reply and see that the pack members in the dining room are still giggling and snickering. All right, enough, and back to your duties, she says to them, and they all disperse. We all finish getting breakfast together, and then the guys come down. We all sit in our respective seats and start eating. So, my brother had you against the door yesterday, hey? Melody asks. My face immediately blushes. Don't be embarrassed. We're werewolves, having X constantly is in our nature. She then looks at Kendrick, at least one of us getting some, she says. Wait, you two haven't mated yet? Milan asks. No, because Ken here is holding on out me. Kendrick, that's not like you, man, Jason says to him. I'm waiting for the right time. I'm not going to treat her like I do any other girl there is, and my wolf keeps saying that it's not the right time, Kendrick replied. Since when does a wolf hold out on mating? Jasper asked. You held out, he replied. Yeah, because Sarin's situation was a little different and more complicated. It's not like you and my sister virgins or were held captive for almost a decade. I don't know, man, it's Ajax, but he won't tell me. Actually, honestly, Tundra is keeping a secret from me too, Melody stated. I looked between the both of them, and it was like I could sense their inner desires. They were both dying to mate, but their wolves were actually holding back. I kept looking between the two of them, and it was like I could sense something. I could almost hear voices, but not theirs. Hey, Kendrick, when he looked at me his eyes changed to bright blue. Whoa, Sarin, why are your eyes glowing? Jasper asked, but I caught in a trance while looking into Kendrick's eyes, but it wasn't Kendrick. It was his wolf Ajax. Hello, Luna, I heard a voice. Who is this? I am Ajax, Kendrick's wolf. How am I able to speak with you? I do not know, but you somehow willed me to come forward, and we can somehow communicate. I thought wolves could only communicate with their human counterpart or their mate through the mind link. That is normally true, yet, you have connected with me. Ajax, why are you holding off on mating? I am waiting for the perfect moment to impregnate my mate. What? Luna, I have spoken with Mother, and she is the one who has told me to wait until my mate's heat. What? You've spoken with the moon goddess? Yes, we wolves speak to her often. Did she say why? No, but I do not question Mother. Does Tundra know about this? She does, but our human counterparts do not. Please, Luna, do not tell them what you know until it is time. I won't. Our connection is severed, and I realize that everyone is staring at me. I look back at Kendrick is also shaking his head in confusion. Sarin, did you just connect with my wolf? He asks. Yeah, I did. How? When you said that he was waiting to mate, I found myself to be curious and wanted to know why, but your mind is currently in control, so I found myself wanting to talk him, and then somehow I did, I explained not really knowing what it is I did myself. Hey, Jasper humphed. We all looked at him. What is it? I asked. Dearest, I think you just unleashed a new power, my mouth just dropped. I believe that was a form of telepathy. What? Everyone else exclaims. Dude, how many is she supposed to have? Jason asked. According to what I read last night, as many as the high powers want to give her, Jasper answered. I looked at him confused. I will share everything that I learned after breakfast, I promise, he says to me. I just nod. What? I screamed at the top of my lungs. A vampire, Jasper repeated. Jasper, are you telling me that some blood vampire is after me? Yes, but I don't know if he knows who you are yet, he replies. How can you be so sure? I exclaim. I can't, which is why I need you to start trying to harness your powers and take control of them. I don't even know what powers I have. Well, we know you can read minds and will them to speak to you in return now, which is part of your power of telepathy, and I believe that you are able to project images. I looked at him like he was crazy. You did it to me last night when we were, you know. I did. I think about it a moment, and then I realized that all the things I wanted Jasper to do to me running through my brain, and somehow when I thought of it, a few seconds later, he did it. Oh my God, is that why you knew when to? He nodded his head and my eyes bulged out of mine. You know, you have quite the imagination, he says with a seductive tone. Jasper. This is not the time. I swing my hands and accidentally push over the stack of papers on his desk. I freak out and reach my hand out, hopefully stop everything from falling to the floor, but then, I see that the papers are moving, very, very slowly. I look over at Jasper, and his eyes darting back and forth between me and the papers that are basically not moving. What? He says. I blink several times and shake my head, and then the papers fly everywhere. What just happened? I screamed, pointing at the papers. I think you froze time, or at least slowed it down. I was in complete horror. Jasper. I'm not a witch. How is this possible? Sarin, what part of you having powers did you not understand? He asked in a smart tone. I gave him a death glare. So, what? Is this another power? Or is this an extension of my telepathy? I asked. I don't know, baby, but we're going to have to start figuring it out, and soon. I gave him another look of concern. This was already becoming too much for me, and I didn't know if I would be able to handle all of this. Chapter 23. Sarin's POV. 2 weeks later, Jasper. I shouted, running through the hallway to his office. Jasper! Jasper! I burst through the door and leaped into his arms. Whoa! What's wrong? I did it. Did what? I controlled water. You did? Yeah, while I was in the bathtub. What did you do? I made a small whirlpool. Dearest, anyone can make a small whirlpool in the tub. It's called moving your hand really fast in the water. At what point did I say I did the whirlpool in the tub? I said I was in the tub. I never said the whirlpool was. He gave me a look of confusion. I used the water from the tub and created a midair whirlpool, only for like 3 seconds, but I still did it. Jasper smiled at me and hugged me tightly. 3 seconds is better than 0, good job, dearest. After Jasper told me everything that he had learned while reading the little black book in the archives, I came into the power of controlling Earth's elements. Fire was the first one I controlled, and it was all by a freak accident. Us ranked members were sitting in the recreation room making s'mores by the fireplace when one of the pieces of wood popped and sent sparks of ember onto the carpeting, causing a small fire. Upon instinct, I put my hand up to shield myself from the ember, but instead, I found myself actually containing the small fire. Callie told me to close my hand, and sure enough, the more I closed my hand, the smaller the flame became. When I closed my hand fully, the small fire died, as well the fireplace. This of course freaked everyone out, but I got super excited. The second element I found able to control was air. 3 days ago, there was a large thunderstorm that passed through, and the wind was really strong. So strong. In fact, it blew our bedroom window open, and again, upon instinct, I used my hands to shield myself but found that I stopped the wind. I pushed my hand and saw the wind being forced back the way it came and was able to actually prevent it from causing serious damage to our room. It didn't mean that wasn't already damage when the wind forced our window open, but it could have been much worse. Since then, I had been trying to control water, but it was taking more effort, but I realized that a lot of reactions to anything involving elements happened out of fear or instinct, so I focused on that and created the small whirlpool. When I saw that I succeeded, I quickly jumped out of the tub, got dressed, and ran straight to Jasper to brag. Although I've been at Blue Lake for just over a month now, my life has changed so drastically, and I don't think I would change it back for the world. The pack is amazing, Jasper is amazing, and all of our friends are amazing. Overall, my life is amazing, and I can actually say that I am happy. Jasper makes me so happy. Jasper actually started to go back to work, and I don't mean pack house work. I found out that Jasper actually runs a large architecture company that helps build models of houses, hotels, apartments, and condominium complexes. After hearing about how well Jasper's company does, it made me realize what Milan meant the day we went shopping when I first arrived about how rich Jasper's family actually was. The company has been in the family for 3 generations, starting from Jasper's grandfather, and was passed down to Ronan, and then to Jasper when he turned 19. Jasper spent the last several years building the company in addition to building the pack. The amount of work that he has been doing almost made my head spin. I couldn't understand how he was able to do everything on his own basically. When Jasper was busy at work, Kendrick took care of the pack house politics in addition to Beta's duties. Melody, Milan, and I have become very close, and they've been secretly teaching me how to do favors so that I can eventually do them to Jasper. Jasper never complains when we have X and hasn't forced me into anything. I'm hoping that I could start putting my other SKLLs to the test while we are in bed, rather than me just projecting images of what I want him to do to me. Oh my god, I'm so excited! I exclaimed like a little kid while still in his arms. I'm surprised you were able to do it on your own, but I'm also proud that you're trying to harness your powers willingly. I smile and KSS him. I project images of us having X, but he immediately pulls back. Sorry, baby, but I have a lot of pack house work to do. Ah, okay, he KSSC'd me once more and put me down. I'm going to go outside and see if I can control the snow. I wonder if I can build a snowman. Okay, wear something warm, and your snow boots. I will. I shout as I skip out the door. I go back to our room and put on a jacket, a scarf, and my new snow boots. The temperature has been dropping below freezing at night now, and the rainstorm a few nights ago was followed by a small snowstorm. Although it didn't snow a lot, it did snow enough, and the cold temperatures have been keeping it from melting too fast. Additionally, being the mountains made the temperature a lot colder than down in the city. I went out into the backyard and stood by the fountain. The water was frozen, and I could see some of the fish were actually still alive beneath the ice in the water. I decided to test out my powers. I held my hand and concentrated on the ice. I focused on my fear of potentially drowning since I didn't really know how to swim. The fear of water is actually what made me love it. I know that sounds really strange, but it was true. When I felt myself connect with the ice, I slowly closed my hand. The ice started to crack. Come on, just a little more, I said out loud and concentrated even harder, squinting my eyes as I felt the solid ice basically fighting back. I closed my hand and then the ice shattered into the fountain. I held out both hands and used my power of telepathy to lift all of the ice out of the fountain and placed it in the snow. The more I played with my powers, the better I got at it. Wow, Sarin, you're really starting to get the hang of everything." I turned around and saw Kendrick and Melody. "Hi, guys," I smiled. "So, you've mastered the water element, hey?" Kendrick said. "I can't say that I've mastered it, but I'm getting the hang of it after playing in the bathtub earlier," I replied. "What are you doing out here?" Melody asked. "I'm going to try and harness the earth element," I answered. "How?" "I'm going to build a snowman." "Just don't bring it to life," Melody said, and I just looked at her. I don't think that's one of my powers," I replied. "That's not, I was referencing the movie Frozen," she said. "I don't know what that is." "What?" she exclaimed. "Okay, yeah, no, before you build a snowman, we're going to go watch the movie," she said and pulled me inside. "Melody, but I want to play in the snow," I whined. "You can play in the snow all you want when winter actually comes, trust me, we get plenty of snow here," I pouted as she dragged me back into the pack house and straight to the recreation room. She turned on the TV and put a DVD into the player. "You girls have fun, I'm going to go hang out with Jasper and help him with pack work." "Okay, babe," Kendrick gave her a kiss and left us to our movie. As the movie played, I watched intently and found myself quickly intrigued. A story of a young girl with powers that she can't control, and her parents dying and then her powers getting out of control. The scene where she sings and runs away to the mountains finally controlling her powers is what intrigued me the most. The song she was singing also really spoke to me. Throughout the entire movie, I felt like I was in a daze, and I finally understood what she meant about me bringing the snowman to life. I never knew this movie existed, but I wish I had. I felt like the heroine in many aspects, and I decided to use her as my muse to help me develop my powers. Fear is what drove her powers to be uncontrollable, but love is what allowed to her rein it all back in. I already had that. I had love on my side because I had Jasper and everyone else around me. When the movie ended, I got up and decided to go back outside to try and build my snowman by channeling what I saw in the movie. "Oh, I think I know what to do," I shout. "Hey!" Melody shouted back at me, but I was already out the door. I quickly put my boots and jacket back on and went outside. I stood to the right field next to the castle which looked like it had the most snow built up. I shook my anxiety and nervousness and thought back to the movie. Fear and love, fear and love, fear and love, were the only two things that played in my mind. I thought about the song and focused on the snow. I held my hand, and gently raised it in the air and found the snow was starting to come with it. I thought about what I did with the whirlpool in the bathtub and started to move my hand in circular and swirling motions. I watched as the snow turned into a medium-sized ball and then I gently placed it back on the ground. "Ha!" I said out loud and jumped for joy. I did it! I did it! I say again and again. "Okay, one down, two more go to." I held out my hand to do it again when I heard a sudden surge of growls coming from inside the pack house. Then I heard Melody's thoughts. "What? Why are they coming to me?" I stopped what I was doing and quickly ran inside. I saw Melody surrounded by nothing but male wolves, and they all looked like they wanted to eat her. "What's going on?" I shouted, but no one paid any attention to me. It was like they were all in a trance. Then, a weird scent hit me, and I realized it was AR0USAL from all of the males. Then I realized what was happening. I looked at Melody, who wasn't looking too good. Her scent was off, like really off. I saw a few take a stance, as they were about to pounce. "Jasper! Kendrick! Melody is in trouble! Melody's POV. I stared at the door that Sarin just ran out of and saw that I was completely alone. I shook my head, but all of a sudden was met lightheadedness. Whoa, I said to myself and touched the side of my head. I must have shaken my head too hard. I stood up and turned off the DVD and put it back in the case. I turned off the TV and made sure the recreation room was nice and tidy. I smiled at the thought of Sarin watching Frozen for the first time. I honestly wasn't surprised when she said she hadn't seen it. I mean, how could she have? She was held captive as a slave. I doubted that those ERS at Blood Moon let her do anything remotely fun. As I was leaving the recreation room, I felt lightheaded again, and I caught myself by the frame of the door, and then I started to feel really hot. Which was strange because I was only wearing a thin long-sleeve shirt and jeggings. I kept my composure and figured that maybe it was just vertigo, but that doesn't make sense because werewolves don't suffer from vertigo. What is wrong with me? I said to myself. I gathered myself, and walked through the palace, and when I walked towards the foyer where I suddenly saw all of the male wolves stiffen, and they all started to growl. I stopped where I was and just watched them. Were we being attacked? Was there a massive mind link that I missed? Then, all of them started to sniff the air, and one by one, they turned around to face me. All of their eyes were black, and full of lust. Well, an unmarked female in heat, I heard one of them say. Surely they couldn't be speaking about me. I saw a few of them step towards me. All I could think to myself was what was happening, and why they were coming to me. I started to step back, and I found myself backed into a corner with at least a dozen male wolves surrounding me. What's going on? I heard Sarin's voice, but none of the male wolves paid any attention. They were fixated on me, and I finally realized what was happening to me. I was in heat, which I found strange because Kendrick and I hadn't mated yet, but it was happening and now I was in trouble. An unmated female in heat is rare, but it happens, and it's very dangerous. The pheromones we put off is like a homing beacon for unmated males, and if the scent is strong enough, it can also attract mated wolves. I know I should be trying to mind link someone to help me, but I was too afraid to make any sudden movements, let alone shut off my sense of sight by mind linking. That split second of mind linking clouds our eyes and we lose our sense of sight. Luckily, a pink wolf jumped in front of us and I realized that it was Sarin. She snarled and growled at the male wolves, but none of them backed down. They were too consumed by L.UST to even realize that their Luna was commanding them to stop. Stand down. I heard her scream in a massive mind link, but it didn't do any good. We were all inged when I saw that a few of the males also started to shift. Sarin may be the Luna, but right now, she was just a small roadblock in the way of what these guys wanted, and that was me. One took a stand to pounce on her, but she suddenly turned back into her human form, and in all her glory, Sarin stopped the wolf midair. I was shocked to see what was unfolding in front of me. Sarin was using her powers against pack members. Although she was told she was not allowed to, desperate times called for desperate measures. Suddenly, to our right, another wolf lunged at us, but Sarin used her other hand to stop him midair as well. This caught the attention of the other males for a brief moment when a wave of heat washed over me, and that made the males fixate their eyes back to me. Sarin somehow threw the guys to the ground, and as they landed two more were getting ready to pounce. I could see Sarin holding her hands up getting ready to catch them again, but before these guys could even pounce, a massive roar shook the palace and two wolves jumped in front of Sarin and me. I felt so relieved to see that it was Blade, who was this massive black wolf, and Ajax, who was actually a golden wolf with some white patches along his face and body. He was a SE*XY wolf. Stand down. I heard my brother's voice come from Blade. He was pissed, and so was Kendrick. His hackles were standing completely vertical, and his snarls were something I had never heard before. A few wolves finally registered what was happening, and they couldn't disobey my brother, no matter how consumed by L.ust they were. A couple of them were still not so smart and tried to push past Ajax, which he was quick to stop and tackled the wolf, immediately overpowering him. Blade growled again, and this time, it did more than shake the castle walls, it caused the chandeliers to tremble, and that allowed for the other males to finally submit and bow their heads. When they stepped back realizing they were inged, Kendrick shifted back and came straight to me. His touch made Tundra purr in relief. "Angel, I'm sorry it took me so long to come to rescue you. We were on the other side of the palace." "It's okay," I replied while touching his cheek. I was getting so hot I couldn't even think straight anymore. "Kendrick, why am I in heat? We haven't made it yet." "It's because I'm a high-ranking beta and you're an alpha's daughter. Our bond is strong. This is why Ajax wanted to wait to mate, he felt your heat coming, and I'm sure Tundra did too," he said to me. I just nodded my head because I was too weak to reply. I looked over at Sarin who was still stark and ached, and my brother as well. Ugh, gross, I didn't want to see my brother and you'd. That was going to scar me for the rest of my life. "How dare you attack your Luna," my brother roared. "And you attempt to attack the beta female. Are you out of your minds? Jasper was not someone you wanted to piss off. As much of the loving brother and alpha that he was also someone that didn't take too kindly to disobedience. If you want to act like animals, I will treat you like animals." All of the males, including the two that Sarin used her powers on, hung their heads in shame. "Get out of my sight," they all scurried away. "Melody, are you okay?" Sarin asked. Sis, you're ached, I tell her. "What?" She looked down and gasped, quickly covering herself. The only person who wasn't ached at this point was me. "Kendrick! Take my sister upstairs," my brother shouted. Kendrick picked me up bridal style and we went to our room. Jasper's POV. "Sarin!" I shouted and picked her up, taking her to our room as fast as I could. When we got to our room, I slammed the door closed and threw her on the bed. "Ow! What the hell?" she shouted back. "Sarin! How could you show yourself to all those males?" I was in wolf form trying to protect Melody, but Callie told me that we needed to try and keep the males back, and I could only do that in human form. So, I shifted back. "Wait, did you use your powers on them?" "I didn't have a choice." "Sarin! We talked about this. What did you want me to do? Let them lunge at us and force themselves on Melody? And hurt me in the process?" "No, of course not, you're the Luna, you could have commanded them to stop." "I tried that. They didn't listen. It's like they couldn't hear me or something." "Sarin, you can't be using your powers against the pack." "I didn't have a choice. I was trying to protect your sister." She crossed her arms and glared at me. "Why did they attack you two anyway?" I asked. "Melody's in heat," she shouted at my face. I gagged when I registered what she said and shuddered at that thought. Wait, how is she in heat if they haven't made it yet? Last week when I conversed with Ajax, he said something about the moon goddess telling him to wait until Melody was in heat. And he also said something about getting her pregnant. I didn't need to know that last part, I tell her, and she just gives me a look of annoyance. Jasper. What? Aren't you proud of me? I just looked at her confused. I used my powers, and I had control of them. I looked at her again and realized she was right. She used to her powers willingly and had control of them. I let out a sigh and sat in the bed next to her. Yes, dearest, I am proud of you. Not only for having control of them, but also using them to protect my sister, I reply, and tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Although, I'm still upset that you used them on pack members. Jasper, I said that I didn't have a choice, I know, and I believe you. And I didn't hurt them. They're probably scared of me now, but that will also teach them not to defy me again. I may be small, young, and still new to being Luna, but that doesn't change the fact that I am the Luna. You're right, and it doesn't. I will have to deal with all of them later, but right now, we should get changed, and eat lunch. Kendrick and my sister will be unavailable for a few days. How long does the heat last? She asks me. My understanding is that can last anywhere between 3 to 5 days depending on the female. I have learned that the higher the rank, the longer it lasts. Oh, okay, she got up from the bed, and went into the closet. We quickly put on some clothes, and Sarin pouted. What's wrong? I didn't think when I first shifted downstairs, now I destroyed my jacket and snow boots. I'll buy you new ones, baby, now let's go eat. She nodded her head and we went downstairs. I knew that keeping Sarin's secret of having powers wouldn't be able to be hidden forever. Although, didn't expect for it to come to light this fast. Even with her using her powers openly outside, the castle was so big, and most people were too busy doing pack house duties or going to work to even know. But now that Sarin openly used her powers on some pack members, this could no longer be contained. We were going to have to announce to the pack that Sarin is not an ordinary wolf. Chapter 24. Kendrick's POV. I knew that Melody's heat was close, but I didn't think it would come when I wasn't around. I had been trying to stay with her as much as possible, but when she wanted to show Sarin the movie Frozen, I decided to hang out with Jasper and help with pack stuff. Bad move on my part. By the time I got her upstairs, she was radiating so much heat, that Ajax was going out of his mind. I barely made it to our room when we started to rip each other's clothes off. You lied to me, she said while kissing me and unbuckling my belt. What do you mean? I replied while taking off her shirt. You said you wanted our first time to be special, she answered while taking my shirt off for me. That was the idea, but then Ajax told me your heat was coming. How did he know? She asked while kissing me and pulling me to the bed. God, her heat was driving me insane. I don't know, he just did. But we haven't made it yet. I know, it's weird, but, I lost my train of thought when her hand went inside of me. Now, talk later, she demanded. Yeah, she took off my boxers, and even though she was in heat, I still wanted this to be special. I laid her down on her back and touched every part of her beautiful body. You truly are an angel, I tell her and cup both of her wrists and gently knead and massage them. She m0aned at my touch. Her scent was filling our room already, and Ajax was trying to claw his way to the surface. He wanted to mate, but I wanted to cherish Melody first. Oh, my God, she m0aned with every thrust I gave her. So good, so good, harder, she screamed. I started to go hard and fast, and her walls started to tighten. Yes. 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 Just like that. Goddess. Just like that. It was like she singing a song with what she was saying, and it sounded so heavenly. Ajax was literally purring in my head hearing Melody climax. Even when she was done, her heat didn't let up. I heard that a female in heat can be strenuous work, but I was looking forward to this. 8 hours later. After she came, Melody collapsed on top of me, and she actually felt cool to the touch. Are you okay? I asked her. I'm cold and hungry. I put the comforter over us, and held her close. Let's get you warmed up, and then I'll go down and bring you some food, she nodded. After about 20 minutes, Melody was sleeping comfortably, and I quickly ran downstairs to see if there was anything to eat. I rummaged through the fridge, and there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. How inged up can this house get? There was a ranked female in heat, and no one left us any food. I muttered. Kendrick. I looked over and see Sarin. Everything okay? No, Melody and I need food. Oh, here, let me make you guys some sandwiches. Oh man, you're the best Sarin. I watched as they rummaged the fridge for ingredients, and quickly made a stack of ham, turkey, and cheese sandwiches with lettuce, tomatoes, and pickles. She cut them in half and put them into a plastic container to make delivery a little easier. I made a total of 6. I hope that's enough. It should be plenty. SSCD her cheek and grabbed several water bottles from the fridge, and took them up with me. I got back to my room, and Melody was already awake. Dinner is served beautiful. What's for dinner? Sandwiches, made by the Luna. Sandwiches. There wasn't any food left over from dinner, and Sarin just happened to come into the kitchen. Oh well, beggars can't be choosers, she replied and took the container from my hand. She opened it open, and took a sandwich, and so did I. She took one bite and immediately M0ANED. What kind of M0AN was that? That sounded what you did with me. Sorry babe, but this sandwich is one of the best I've ever had, she replied and took another bite. See, I knew it wasn't just me and Jasper. Sarin has magic in her hands when it comes to sandwiches. It probably has to do with the fact that she had to start cooking at a young age, she said while shoving her last bite in her mouth and picking up another one before she even swallowed. I had my mouth full as well and just nodded my head in agreement. Babe, can I ask you a question? Anything, I reply and pick up another sandwich. Why didn't you mark me? Because my mother always told me to never mark a female while she's in heat. Why not? Something about it being draining on the body. Your body is already going through a lot while in heat and marking you would take even more energy. She said it could be dangerous. Oh, well your mom was a wise woman, so it would be smart to listen to her words. Yeah, she was wise, I smile. I miss her. We all do. I'm sorry I wasn't here for you when she passed away. You were away at school, Angel, and it was just so sudden, there wasn't time for anyone to do anything, so, no one knows what happened? Or how she was poisoned? No, and since it's been over a year, there's not much Jasper can do anymore. I'm so sorry babe, I just nodded my head. So, how's Katon? Miserable. Tarine being her normal tchy self. Yes, and the further she gets along in the pregnancy, the worse she's becoming. Poor kid can't even talk to Milan anymore without Tarine ping out. Wow, that's just ridiculous, Melody says and chugs some water, and then grabs another sandwich. You missed it. Missed what? Well, the night we found each other, and you kicked me out of your room, I went back to the party and hung out with Katon. This young Omega, named Irene, who was 17 at the time, should be 18 by now, said excuse me to my brother and me, because she was trying to get to drinks behind us, right? Sarin came and ripped into her, almost making the poor girl cry. Oh my gosh! Are you serious? I'm dead serious. She called herself ranked and talked SHT to me. Milan tried to put her in her place, but instead of listening, she literally turned her heel and walked away. She disobeyed a direct order from Milan. Not just from Milan, from me too. Ooh. I wish she weren't pregnant so I could kick her. Ha ha ha, Milan said the same thing. Are Katon and Sarin living together? No, hell no, that was one thing he was adamant on. Sarin could sleep in the room next to his, but not the same room. Though that doesn't stop her from trying to get into his room. I hope your dad takes back what he said about Katon having to reject his mate when he finds her, because that's inged up in so many ways. I agree, and your mom is trying to convince him of that too. My mom is a firm believer in the mate bond, and she would never let something like an unplanned pregnancy get in the way of it. I nodded my head. I looked down and saw that we finished all of the sandwiches and the water. I moved everything to the nightstand and gently caressed her arm. Well, my beautiful girlfriend, I believe your heat is starting to come back, she smiled seductively. I think it's time I take control again and make you scream my name, I said, and pounced on her, making her giggle. The next 2 days were going to be so glorious. Irene's POV. Ah. Oh my god, please. Irene, you're so beautiful. I love you, Katon. I love you. Ah, deeper, harder, please more. Arg. Oh, KK, when he was done, Katon pulled out of me. That was incredible. I'll say, IFL, PPD over and looked at him. Katon, were you surprised to find out that I was your mate? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, when we met that night at the Luna ceremony, I felt drawn to you. That was actually why I asked if we could meet on your birthday. Were you surprised that you were my mate? A little, I mean, knowing what's going on in your life didn't make it easy to accept, but then again, knowing is what also made it easy to give in to you. Though, I won't deny that keeping our relationship secret kind of sucks. I know it does, baby, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to reject you. I'm not going to reject you either, I reply in KSS his L.P.S. But I do have to admit, having these quickies in the forest and hilltops is quite exciting. I didn't think having sex in a cave would be this invigorating. Yeah, I guess it's the wolf in us, I giggle in his response. I watch him look at his watch, and he immediately frowns. We're out of time, aren't we? We are. I need to get back before Sarin burns down the pack house, I nod and we both start to get dressed. Wait, you're going to smell like me though. I won't with this little concoction right here, he says and holds up a small vial. What is that? It's a potion that masks the scent of a female. Where did you get a potion from? A friend from high school. His dad is a wizard and his mom is a wolf. I have had this potion ready for the last few months. I knew that when I found my mate, I wasn't going to reject her, no matter many times my dad tells me I have to. I knew I was going to mate with her as soon as I saw her, and I told my friend of my predicament. So, he told his dad, and they made this for me. Is it safe? Yup, I have a safe full of these little babies, I couldn't help but smile. Him having a safe full only meant we were going to have a lot of sex, and I didn't mind that at all. Irene. Yet, he cupped my face and stared deeply into my eyes. I could just get lost in his beautiful blue eyes. I'm going to find a way out of this, okay? I'm going to find a way for us to be together. I know, and I'll be waiting. I love you, Irene. I love you too. He gave me one last lingering kiss, drank his potion, and then left. I waited about 10 minutes before leaving myself and skipped my way home. 2 days, that's how long it's been since my birthday passed and I found out Katon was my mate. I always found him to be attractive, but I never crossed that line because, well, I was always under the impression he had a mate. But the night of the Luna ceremony, hearing that Sarin wasn't his actual mate, and just a she-wolf he knocked up, made me a little happy. I mean, that sounds so wrong, but I mean, whatever. I was even more surprised when I received a text message from him the following day. He said he got my number from my pack member file, and since I didn't have a wolf yet, he couldn't mind link me. But now that I do have my wolf, and we've actually mated, he can mind link anytime he wants as long as that Sarin isn't around. The fact that she had the audacity to disrespect the beta and gamma female that night was so outrageous. I personally still don't believe her pregnancy is legit. It's almost unheard of for a female wolf to get pregnant when not in heat, and let alone from someone that isn't her mate. The probability of it happening is astronomically low. So, the fact that it happened to Katon makes me wonder if her pregnancy is even real or if it's even his. I told Katon to get a paternity test done as soon as the pup is born to see, and I had the nagging feeling Sarin was trying to trap him. At first, I thought he would be mad about it, but to my surprise he was all for it. He even told me that the night of the Luna ceremony, even Gamma Milan questioned the paternity of Sarin's pup. I wanted to be supportive in the best way possible, but I also didn't want him making the mistake of raising a pup that wasn't his. And if the pup isn't his, then who is the father? I watch a lot of TV and have a very vivid imagination. When I got home, I skipped through the door and found that my mom and dad were still awake watching TV. Hi Mom, hi Dad. Irene, honey, where were you? I was out and about in the forest with a friend. Anything interesting? We found an abandoned cave, it was actually pretty cool. I'm glad you had fun, honey. Go to sleep now, you still have school in the morning. Yes, Mommy, I went up to my room, rest, and jumped into the shower. Thankfully, my parents don't question when I come back smelling like someone else. Even though Katon was my first, I wasn't going to tell my parents that. They just assumed I let go and became an adult, with some random pack member. I wasn't going to tell them I found my mate because that would not be good for anyone right now. This was just going to stay between me and my love. Chapter 25. Katon's POV. I snuck back into the castle when I smelled something really delicious. It was strange because it was almost 9 at night, and I knew for a fact that Mr. and Mrs. Williams never cooked this late. I made my way into the kitchen and saw the Luna, packing up a bunch of food. Luna. Oh, hi, Katon. What are you doing? Melody went into heat, and your brother came down earlier and there was no food for them. If there's one thing I know is that both male and female wolves require a lot of food during this time, so I figured I would make some easy meals for them to enjoy for the next few days. Wow, why didn't Mr. and Mrs. Williams do it? Well, they did, but I think other pack members ate all the leftovers before your brother came down, so I'm making sure no one eats these. Red containers are for Kendrick and Mel, and the white containers are open for anyone. First come first serve. In that case, I missed dinner, may I have one? Sure, she said and passed me a container. The food inside was still warm, so I didn't need to heat it up. I opened it up and found lasagna. Whoa, you made this? Yes, is there a problem? No, not at all, it's just other than Mr. and Mrs. Williams, no one knows how to make lasagna. Oh my god, this is so good. I stopped mid-sentenced after I took a bite, making the Luna giggle. Well, I'm glad you like it. Do you want something to drink? Coke please. She went into the cupboard, grabbed a glass, filled with ice, and opened a can for me. Thank you, Luna. Please, will you just call me Sarin? Sorry, it's a force of habit, I replied and inhaled the rest of the lasagna. As much I loved Mr. and Mrs. Williams' cooking, the Luna sure knew how to do cook. So, where were you? I didn't see you at dinner. Oh, I was just out with a friend. You're lying, she immediately said. I stopped mid-bite and looked at her. She was lifting a brow at me. If you don't want to say it out loud, then say it in your thoughts, you already know I have powers. I kind of hate this, but then again, I feel like this will stay between us. Yes, it will. Sarin, I found my mate. Oh no. I didn't reject her if that's what you're thinking. I found her on her 18th birthday, and I've been sneaking away to spend time with her. I'm already madly in love with her, and she knows of my situation with Sarin. And she's okay with it. Hello, no, she's not okay with it. But she's willing to wait until I find a way out of it. I get it, I made a mistake, and now I have a pup on the way, but I shouldn't have to be forced to give up the love of my life for some lying manipulative. I get it, and I understand. She smiled and sent me a mind link saying she would keep my secret and that would help me lie to Sarin. I finished the lasagna and Coke, and Sarin cleaned up my plate for me. While she was cleaning up the kitchen and doing the dishes, the devil came in. Katon, her sudden outburst made Sarin jump out of her skin and drop the glass, making it shatter all over. Hell, Sarin, look what you did! I shouted at her. I ran over to the Luna to make sure she was okay. Get away from her! Off! I'm just trying to help her. Katon, it's fine, I can clean this up. You go to bed. Watch your step, glass can fly everywhere. Sarin, are you sure? Yes, go, she insisted, so I did. I grabbed Sarin by the arm and dragged her out of the kitchen. You're hurting me, she yelled. Too bad. I replied back and dragged her back to her room on the second floor. I shoved her onto the bed. What is wrong, you? Me? You're the one flirting with the Luna. I wasn't rooting. She gave me something to eat because I missed dinner. We were just talking. Why would I RT with a mated wolf? Let alone the Luna? Do you hear yourself when you talk? I'm warning you, Katon, I will not hesitate to put in this pack in their place if they come near you, I don't care who they are. Well then, have fun getting banished for breaking pack laws. They can't banish me. I'm pregnant. Then you better brush up on your pack laws. Jasper may not want to banish you while you're pregnant, but it doesn't mean that he can't. But he will if you do anything to the Luna. And you would actually let him? I'm pregnant with your pup. Let him? Jasper is the alpha. Sarin is the Luna. I have no say in what decisions he makes. If you do anything to any pack member, let alone the Luna, then you deserve to be banished. And what about your pup? Then so be it, I stated without any remorse and left her room, slamming the door behind me. Sarin was getting on my last nerve. Just 2.5 more months until the pup is born, and then I will get the paternity test done. I get the feeling that Milan and Irene are right. Something about this pregnancy wasn't right. The one time I touched her belly to feel the pup, I felt nothing. No loving father moment, no sparks, no butterflies, nothing. My dad always said that when my mom was pregnant with me and my brother, he would feel butterflies and different kinds of sparks every time either of us kicked or shuffled around. At first, I thought it was because he loved our mom, and she was his mate, but he said that regardless of that, the pup and their parents have their own special bond that should be felt while the pup is in the womb, but I didn't feel any of that. It felt empty, and that's when I knew that Sarin may be lying about the pup. Either the pregnancy is all a sham, or that pup isn't mine. And I would soon find out. Sarin's POV. After cleaning up the mess in the kitchen, I put away all of the packaged food and made sure to label everything. After I put everything away and double-checked everything was turned off and tidy, I went up to Jasper's office. He had been working on stuff for company and pack house. Going up the stairs now has been getting a lot easier, and I'm no longer winded, but my legs still burned. "Babe," I said while knocking on the door. "Hey, come on in. Are you busy?" "For you?" "Never." I closed the door behind and skipped over to him. "Why do you smell like Italian?" "Oh, I made a bunch of food for Kendrick and Melody." "Why would you do that? And this late at night?" "Oh, a few hours ago, Kendrick came down to get food but there was nothing in the fridge, so I made him some sandwiches to sustain them for now, but I figured that I would make actual food for them and put them in plastic Tupperware," I explained, and then he just looked at me. "What? You're perfect, do you know that?" I pressed my LPS together and blushed. "You're so cute when you get flustered," that statement alone made me go even redder. "Sarin, why do you blush whenever I compliment you?" "Because I'm still getting used to it." "Jasper, you're the only person other than my parents that ever said I'm beautiful, perfect, cute, or any of that stuff. It's foreign to me." "Well then, I guess I'm just going to have to keep doing it until you get used to it." "Then when you do, I'll do it even more," he said, and then KSSCD me. I raised my brows and pulled him into a deeper KSS and gave him images of SEX. Baby, I still have a lot of work to do." "Too bad, and I want it now." "Sarin," I wouldn't let him finish talking as I kept sing his LPS. "Baby." "Me, Jasper," he grunted and growled, and picked me up, placing me on this desk. I wrapped my legs around his PS and took off his shirt. He moved his seized my jaw and then to my neck, where he then I am 0ANED in approval, and he kept doing it. "Ah, Jasper, yes. I love you," he said as he took my shirt off as well. He cupped one of my wrists as I grabbed his face with both hands and kept sing him. I played images of what I wanted, and were just about to get there when his office door swung open. "Jasper, what are OSHT?" Jason exclaimed. "My bad." Jasper growled and stopped everything he was doing. He gave me back my shirt, and I put it back on. "Dearest, you didn't lock the door." Like I knew someone would barge in without knocking, I said, and hopped off his desk. "What do you want, Jason?" "I wanted to see if you wanted to play a round of Halo before you called it a night." "I can't, I have a lot of plans to go through for the company and some pack stuff I need to work through." "Really?" "Because it looked like you and the Luna were about to make some pups." "We were, until you interrupted," I snapped. I turned back to Jasper and gave him a KSS. I quickly projected a naughty image to him and ran out of the office. Sarin, he yelled after me and I just giggled going back to our room. I figured that he would be working late, so I decided to take another bath and played with the water using my powers. I was able to keep the whirlpool up in the air a little longer this time. This was getting easier the more I did it. I found that focusing on my love for Jasper and the fear of losing him was the best way to channel it. After soaking in the tub until the water got cold, I rinsed off and then went into the closet to change into one of Jasper's shirts and lace underwear. I climbed in bed, and decided to watch some TV. I found a show called Charmed and watched it with intense focus. A show about witches who gain their powers suddenly and have to learn to control them. This show intrigued me immensely, and I found myself watching back-to-back episodes. I wasn't even sure how long I was watching until Jasper came in. Sarin? Why are you still awake? Hey! I didn't even look at him. Sarin, he took the remote from me and turned off the TV. Hey! It was just getting good. I shouted and tried to get the remote back. Dearest, do you have any idea what time it is? I looked at the clock and saw that it was almost 3 in the morning. Oops, he scoffed and laughed at me. Sarin, I don't mind you watching TV but don't lose sleep because of it. Sorry, ugged his wast. He bent down and gave me a KSS. Why are you coming in so late? I had a conference call with a client in Spain. Spain? Yeah, my company doesn't just do work in the US baby, we have contracts in other countries too. Oh wow, that's awesome. Speaking of, I actually need to go to Spain. When? In 2 weeks. How long will you be gone? Just over a week, I pouted. Thinking about Jasper being gone for a week kind of hurt. Hey, I know, but this is a big contract, and I can't afford to not go, I pouted some more and nodded my head. I can't go with you, can I? I'm sorry dearest, you can't, I pouted again. But, when I get back, we will set aside some for each other and have a small vacation, how does that sound? I made a thinking face and then smiled. Yeah, I can do that, he gave me a KSS and then went to the bathroom to get ready for bed. I scooted over to make sure he had room and snuggled my face into the pillows. I felt the bed dip, and Jasper's arm came around me pulling me close to his chest. He and I both fell asleep in no time. Melody's POV. Going into heat the way, but finally getting to mate with Kendrick was the best thing ever. Kendrick was blessed, very, very blessed, but then again, most healthy werewolves are. I was so grateful to Sarin when Kendrick informed me about all the food she had prepared for us. She was definitely working her magic as Luna, no pun intended. Once my heat was finally over, Kendrick was actually the last person I wanted to see. Don't get me wrong, X was great, but after 4 days of nothing but Kendrick, and his wonder stick, and his n.8 body were the last things on my mind. I mind-linked Milan. Hey girl! Oh, look who finally finished. Yeah. Where are you guys? Sarin and I are in the recreation room playing some pool. Okay, I will be right down. I skipped down the stairs and made my way to the recreation room. When I got there, Sarin and Milan were playing pool, and it looked like Sarin was winning. Jason and Kendrick were playing some video games, but my brother wasn't around. Hey, where's Jasper? I asked. He had to go to the office to get some stuff done for his trip to Spain, Sarin said. Jasper's going to Spain. Yeah, he said that there's a business client that he needs to deal with. Oh, well, that's not surprising, but he rarely ever travels directly, I replied. He said something about it being a big contract that he has to personally deal with it, Sarin said, unsure. I just shrugged a shoulder. I take on winner. Well, then you're taking on Sarin because she's beating me. That's insane, someone is finally beating you, Milan. Yet, shut up, we all started to giggle while Jason and Kendrick started to holler. Whatever game they were playing has them seriously riled up. I grabbed a cue stick and got the ball set for a new game. Sarin, have you been taught how to play 9-ball? That's what we're playing, Milan replied. Oh. Yeah, if you were hoping to beat her in a new game it wouldn't work. She was beating Jason on her first try with 8-ball. What? That's crazy. Yeah, honestly, at first we thought she was cheating, using her powers, but she didn't have them back then, Milan said, and I looked over at Sarin, who just smiled innocently and shrugged her shoulder. Whatever, let's get this game started. I give up. There's just no winning. I shouted as I threw the cue stick on the pool table. Sarin beat 4 games in a row, and it was honestly not even fun at this point. This girl was a natural at pool. I'm sorry, Sarin frowned. Don't be sad, Sarin, Melody is just a sore loser, Milan said. I am not, Milan, Jason, and even Kendrick just gave me a look. Oh, alright, then fine. I am a sore loser, Kendrick came up behind me and ssc'd my temple. Ugh, I'm still not ready for you, I said and pushed him away. Milan and Jason just laughed while Sarin gave us a confused look. You'll know after you have your heat. Oh, okay. Alright, well, since the boys are done with their game and Mel and I are sick of losing in pool to the kid, Sarin glared at Milan for calling her a kid. How about we head outside and let our wolves out for a run? Yes. I exclaimed. I'm sure Tundra could use some exercise after being cooped up for 4 days. We cleaned up the recreation room and put everything away, and headed out. Kendrick still didn't understand the part of no touching, but I let him put his arm around me anyway. As we were heading through the foyer towards the back door, we ran into Katon. Hey, where are you guys going? He asked us. We're going to let our wolves out. Do you want to come? Sarin answered. Yeah, if that's okay with you guys. Come on, little brother, I'm sure Chase could use the fresh air, Kendrick said. Katon, came an annoying screech from upstairs. Ah, Katon gr0aned. You guys go on ahead, we will catch up to you, I told the others while referring to Kendrick, Katon, and myself. Where do you think you're going? Sarin asked with the most demanding tone I had ever heard. He was going. I wasn't talking to you, she snapped at me, cutting me off when I was trying to answer. Excuse me, I said and got in her face. I know you didn't, you just cut me off and used that tone with me. Has your pregnancy led your brain? I'm an alpha's daughter and female beta. I don't care if you're pregnant, Sarin. I won't hesitate to use my alpha authority on you. She immediately cowered and hung her head. If she were in wolf form, her tail would curl underneath her, and her ears would be pressed against her head, fully submitting. Angel, calm down, Kendrick said, pulling me away from her. Katon is going on a run with us because we asked him to, and he so kindly accepted. Now, if you're done being a little, we'll be going now. I turned around, grabbing both Kendrick's and Katon's arms, leading them out back. Kendrick said when we made into the clearing. What? That was, he replied, making me chuckle. Thank you, Melody, Katon said. Please, no thanks required. Your family Katon, and she's not. She's just a asterisk who is using her pregnancy to get what she wants, and unfortunately, that kind of SHT doesn't work on me, so I have no issues putting her in her place, I said and crossed my arms. Both of them smirked, and at that moment, they looked like twins. Hey, quick question for you Katon. What's up? When you first met Sarin, what did she smell like? Like pine trees or pine cones, why? Nothing, I was just curious, I replied. Alright, enough about her, let's shift and catch up to the others, Kendrick said. I went off behind a tall hedge and shifted first. Feeling the cool mountain air around Tundra's fur made her purr and shake loose. Ajax came up to her and nuzzled his snout into her neck. She gave him a small LCK, and then Chase came up next to us. Kendrick let out a howl to see where everyone else was, and when we heard the reply, we all took off to go meet them. It didn't long to SP0T because of Callie being a pink wolf and all. Once we caught up with them, we all ran around through the trees, jumping over logs, and bumping one another. I never realized how small Callie really is, but her pink coloring is really cute. She's like a little fairy almost. As we were running through the wooded areas along the mountainside, Callie came to a skidded stop, making all of us tumble over her. Ow! I whined. Sarin, what the hell? Milan shouted. Why did you stop like that? Jason asked. I looked up at her, and her eyes were glowing. Rogues! She shouted through our link. I don't smell anything. Kendrick said. Trust me. The next thing we knew, there were several growls coming in our direction. We all huddled around Sarin to protect her since she didn't know how to fight. The growls were getting louder, then the stench of sewage made itself known. Just then, a dozen rogues came into view, and they were feral. Very feral. Sarin, whatever you do, stay in the circle. Kendrick said to her. The rogues didn't wait, they lunged for us. Tundra was fast and was able to grab one before it could even get to us. She bit down on this shoulder, drawing blood and making it howl in pain. It was weak but still strong enough to fight. It shook us off and PP'd us over. It tried to stomp on us, but Tundra rolled out of the way, and lunged at it, landing on top of its back. Being smaller than a male wolf comes in handy. Tundra bit down on his spinal cord and gave it a hard shake, killing the rogue. Help! I heard Sarin's voice. I looked over and saw two rogues were stalking her. Snarling and growling. Tundra roared and we charged at them before they could make a move. I rammed one, and kicked the other with my hind legs, and did my best to keep Sarin protected. Just then, I could hear the sound of bones popping out of place, and I saw in my peripheral vision Sarin had shifted back. I watched as her eyes glowed, as she started to use her powers. She somehow lifted one of the rogues in the air and snapped its neck. After she did, she fell to her knees and looked drained. I stepped back in front of her, realizing that using her powers like that must have drained a lot of her energy. Two more rogues came up to me, and the others were still fighting theirs. I must have had the weakest because I could that these two in front of me of now were big, almost abnormally so. Tundra gave them a warning growl, but it didn't do SHT. These two weren't going to back down, and I knew I was in trouble. Just as they were about to pounce, they were rammed from the side by a large black wolf, and I knew instantly it was my brother. Several other wolves growled and howled, and I realized the pack warriors were coming to help. The rogues were disposed of quickly after that. I shifted back and turned my attention to Sarin, who was now passed out on the ground. Sarin. I kneeled down next to her. She was still breathing but she was out. What happened? My brother shouted, coming to us in human form. He handed me a t-shirt from one of the trees that we keep for situations like this. I quickly put it on. I think she used too much energy, killing one of the rogues, I tell him. What did she do? She raised it in the air and snapped its neck. I never wanted her to have to use her powers to kill anyone. Well, if she hadn't, she and I would have both been inged. As he was lifting her in his arms, everyone else came to us. Angel, are you okay? Kendrick asked while hugging me. I'm fine, babe. How were there rogues within the territory? My brother shouted. We don't know, this is a first for us too, man, Jason replied. Everyone, get back to the castle, he said to us. Angelo, you and the others burn the bodies. Yes, Alpha. The rest of us walked back to the castle, while Jasper carried Sarin. Something didn't seem right. Jason had a point when he said that this had never happened before. It was almost impossible for rogues to get into the territory, and the fact that Sarin could sense them before we could was astonishing. This attack was too random to be random, and I think everyone was thinking the same thing. This was going to have all of us on edge. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.